Hi guys, today I want to talk to you about my lenses that I use. Going to be just a really chilled out chat really. I've got my ice cold beer, need that today. Got my vape stick, so I'm going to just talk to you literally about my lenses that I use and what my favourite ones are. I hope you enjoy it. These are all the lenses that I required to swap out for my Canon gear, which I sold off a few months ago. The most interesting thing that I wasn't sure of, or I was a little bit nervous about, was what equivalents can I get to replace the equivalents of what I had for the Canon gear. With the Canon gear, I had 4 or 5 lenses. I had 70-200, 2.8 IS2, brilliant lens. I had a Tamron 24-70, 2.8 VR, whatever Tamron calls it. I can't remember the top of my head. That was a good lens. It was image stabilized, but it wasn't quick to focus, which was a bit of a downer actually. I had the Canon 17-40. Love that lens. It was great for a lot of landscape shooting that I do and a lot of environmental portraits, that sort of thing. Actually like that lens. A lot of people don't like that lens and call it a bit of a poor man's 16-35, but to be honest, if you're getting images, then why sell it to get something that's faster if you don't really need it? I was using it for landscape stuff anyway, and literally was only shooting at f8, f11, so for me that was fine. I had the Sigma 50mm f1 for art. Absolutely love that lens. I'll talk about that in a moment when I do the comparison with one of these guys here. And I also had the, trying to think back, what else did I have? Mine's gone blank actually. 17-40, the Tamron, the Sigma, 24-70, 70-200 maybe, sorry. Anyway, mine's gone blank. I sold that gear sort of 3 or 4 months ago and I replaced it with other lenses. Sorry about that, just literally had a bit of a brain freeze there. Let's have a slurp, might feel better. Good stuff. It can't beat a Carlsberg. Okay, so I opted to replace a lot of the lenses, but also buy some more focal lengths or additional lenses to go with the kit, simply because this is so much of a lighter kit compared to the gear that I was carrying around with the Canon. I think I mentioned in my previous video that I literally had with the 5D Mark III, 3 flashes plus 4 lenses. The weight was, I can't remember the top of my head, but it was a lot more than all these lenses with the X-T2 and the X-T1 in the bag. And I'm not even kidding you about that. I'm absolutely telling you the truth. So I thought, well, you know, why not have more lenses if I'm not breaking my back for a whole day shoot? If you're a wedding shooter or an events photographer, you know exactly where I'm coming from. I'm not being a wimp, but at the end of the day, you know, it really does help your back out. So what I opted for was the 23mm f2, the 35mm f2. I have also got this really nice Jupiter 50mm f2. It's a manual lens to focus. This was a Leica M39 mount, and all you got to get yourself is an an M39 to FX adapter. If you do get them, I would recommend the K&F Concept adapters actually. These are made of metal, they're absolutely brilliant, really nice tight fitting. I've had about 5 or 6 of these adapters. I had them for I actually bought the Canon version, as I was actually using Canon glass on my X-T1, believe it or not. I was using the Tamron 24-70. I actually used that lens when I went to Germany for Formula 1. I'm a big Formula 1 nut. And I just set it on manual focus at f8. A lot of zone focusing, just to get an idea of what was in focus, when the cars were going around, what part of the the circuit. It's actually not that difficult. If you play about with manual lenses and you get to grips with them anyway, they're actually quite easy, especially with the mirrorless cameras. You've got the what do we call it? You've got the focus peaking. I actually don't use focus peaking. I just use my eye. And when you zoom in, you can tell straight away when something's in focus anyway. My beloved 23mm f1.4. This still today has to be my favourite lens. I think hands down it really is. Just love this lens. I mean, I love all the lenses, but this is just a killer. What I'm going to do actually is, over the coming weeks, I'm going to do, I don't know if I'm going to call it a review. I think reviews on most of these lenses have probably been done to death on YouTube, but I'm going to probably just spend a bit of time on each lens, show you some images that I've got from the lens, from the lens, real-time images, from events or weddings, plus personal shooting. I do a lot of personal shooting. I don't just, just go out and just do jobs. I do stuff for myself. I love photography. I literally sleep, dream. I'm very passionate about photography, and I think if you're probably watching these videos, you obviously are too. And I think there's nothing better than really wanting to go out and shoot. And since I've got the Fuji, since I've been in with a Fuji X system, I just feel like I just want to go and shoot all the time. It's almost like I'm addicted. My wife thinks I'm obsessed, and I probably am actually. Anyway, I digress. Another great lens which I use is actually another manual lens. So this is the Samyang 12mm f2 manual lens. I cannot explain to you how great this lens is. I think I paid about £260 for it, and I use this for more or less all my street photography, all my landscapes, all my cityscapes, all my building shots. This is, for the price, a killer lens. Get it. Seriously, don't muck about. Go and get it. For the price, you will not be disappointed. I've taken more pictures with this lens, I think, than any other lens. Even though probably the 23 f2 is stuck to my camera, I don't think I've taken more shots than any other lens. Even going back to the Canon gear, this lens is ridiculously good for the price. It's f2, so if you're into astrophotography, it's brilliant for that. It is sharp. Center sharpness is phenomenal on this lens. I have to do, I think the first review or the first discussion about, individual lenses, when I get into it in a few weeks' time, I think I'm going to probably start with this lens, and I'm going to show you all the images that I've taken, be it landscapes, be it cityscapes, building shots. You're going to be shocked. In fact, if you want to have a look at some stuff, if you go to my my Instagram account, bit of a plug here, but it's brilliant to have a look at some of these shots that I've taken with this lens. I'm not saying I am in any way, shape, or form, a world-class photographer, not at all. But just check it out. If you go to my Instagram account, My Instagram username is Fuji.X.shooter. There's a picture of my X-T1 with which lens? I believe it's with the Jupiter lens on the front. You'll know when you see it anyway. Go on that, have a look, and most of the images I take, I tend to write the camera and the lens. I don't really go into any other EXIF data, but do check it out. Have a look at that lens. Focusing is brilliant on it as well. Literally, you've got on the front there, so you've got your infinity, which goes all the way to there, but actually infinity is right on that line there. So you can stick this in f4 and above, and I think from here to where this camera is, everything to infinity is in focus. So you can just leave it set to f4 or f8. I normally leave it to f8 and just shoot. Brilliant, brilliant fun lens. Love this lens. And in fact, I'm so impressed with Samyang lenses. You know what? I'm not a snob. I don't care. Yeah, I've got expensive Fuji glass, but I'm not a snob, and I don't have to have, you know, the brand names. And when I had Canons, I had L lenses, and I had cheaper lenses as well. I'm so impressed with the Samyang lens that I'm actually going to buy soon because I can't help myself. They do an 85mm 1.4, so it'll be the equivalent of 127mm on a crop like the XT2 or XT1. And the bokeh is just stunning, absolutely stunning. It's not the sharpest lens in the world, but it doesn't have to be. You know, you get a beautiful cinematic look from it. So I'm going to get that. I am actually going to go, I think I've just convinced myself, I'm going to go and buy that lens because I'll rave so much about these Samyang lenses. They're not built fantastic. This is kind of metal and plastic, but it feels weighty. Great lens. So I also, moving on, I might as well just done a review there on the Samyang. It's such a great lens. Another one of my favourite lenses is the 56 1.2. This is not the APD version, which is a £200 or £300 more. It's just a normal 1.2 56mm. Gives you the equivalent of around 85mm on the Fujis. Beautiful lens. When I was swapping over from my Canon gear, I used to use the Sigma for a lot of kind of, you know, close-up shots, just to get a really nice, you know, creamy, buttery look. And I don't get that as much with, you know, the 35mm f2, just simply because it's an f2. And then when you compare it to a full frame f2, it's really like a 2.8. So you're kind of losing quite a lot of, you know, depth of field with it when you compare it to like full frame stuff. But this one, I mean, you can see, I mean, it's just, the glass is just absolutely stunning. Great lens. This one, so I was shooting this lens on a wedding, and my second shooter, this was before I completely swapped to Canon, I was using this, and my second shooter was using the Canon 85mm 1.8, and I borrowed it, and I was shocked actually how good this lens is compared to the Canon 1.8 85mm. So with the Canon, it's a beautiful lens, you know, I'm not knocking it in any way, shape or form, but it's probably actually more to do with the, you know, the Fuji cameras that don't have, you know, the anti-aliasing filters in front of the sensor or wherever they put it. I'm not a camera builder or a manufacturer, but all lenses are sharp. You know, they are sharp, but they give you a lovely look. This is exactly the depth of field you get from a 1.2 with the crop sensor with a Fuji. This is exactly the same as a Canon 1.8. You will not get the depth of field you get with a Canon 50mm f1.2 or an 85 1.2. You don't. I don't care what anyone says. You do not. You get the same as a 1.8. The background blur, I've compared it. I've got images from the Canon that I shot. exactly the same images, and you can see literally to the plant in the background where the blur starts, and you know, and it just and ends. It is just exactly the same. Beautiful lens. I just wish, this is why I'm thinking, well, I am going to get it. This is why I'm going to get a Samyang 85mm 1.4 85, because I want to invest in a really nice portrait lens that isn't the 50-140 or 70-200 equivalent, because this is a 2.8, and on the crop sensor your depth of field is like f4. It's not the same as my Canon 70-200 at 2.8. It's just not. The background blur you get, the bokeh you get from this is not the same. So I want to get, I was thinking about getting the Fuji 90mm f2, but that is still going to give me the same depth of field as like a 2.8 on a crop sensor, and I still want to have light gear, but at the same time I'm wanting to get the same look you get the look from a full frame camera in terms of background blur, depth of field, bokeh, just whatever you want to call it, just simply because I'm a portrait photographer. That's what weddings are, you know, that's what we do. And you know, if you're doing stuff like that, you know where I'm coming from. You don't want to sacrifice that stuff, and you don't have to. All it means is you've got to search and try and find a unique lens that you can get, like a 1.4, you can get an old Russian Jupiter. I can't remember what it's called. They do an 85mm. I think it's the Jupiter, possibly the 8 or the 9. I really can't remember. But I was looking into that lens, and you know, they really hold their prices. And I thought, you know what, for the sake of 200 and whatever pounds, I can pick up a Samyang 85-1.4 and get a full frame equivalent of an f2, which is perfect for full frame. I'll do that. But again, I'm digressing, I'm sorry. This is a wicked lens. Killer lens. If you're a portrait photographer, an events photographer, a wedding photographer, or you simply want to take beautiful images of your children at home, if they're still, that is, because this isn't the fastest lens in the world, although it is a lot better on the X-T2, then this is a must, an absolute must. Next, the lens that I thought I would really miss was my Tamron 24-70. And when I say I thought I'd miss it, I do miss it, for the simple reason that it's image stabilized. It was brilliant to be able to shoot, you know, with that lens I could shoot at like 1/15 of a second, 1/30 of a second. If no one's moving and you're in church, for instance, and you're shooting just people standing there while they're reading their vows out to each other, or you know, the vicars asking them if they do or they don't, you can shoot at such a slow shutter speed that you can keep your ISO down, and your images obviously will look better. And I miss that because this doesn't have it. It just it doesn't have it, and I'm coming across like I'm really mad, and I am mad because this is like a £900 lens. Actually, I paid £849. Curry's was doing a really good deal, or actually everyone was doing a good deal at Christmas time, where they were offering for Good Friday it was £125 cash back, but over Good Friday they doubled it, so I got 250 quid off this. It was cheaper for me to do it that way than buying it, you know, on a grey market. In fact, I buy loads of lenses grey market. It doesn't bother me if I buy them from UK places or if they're on the internet. You know, if I can save 300 or 400 quid, which in fact I did do with this and this and this and this and this. All my lenses, I think most of my lenses except for this one actually, were bought on the internet on the grey market. I don't care what anyone says, you know, the grey market, they're not inferior. It's the same bloody lens that comes out of the same factory, you know. That's just to spin you a yarn so you buy UK products which costs more. Don't do it. Save your cash and buy grey. It's as simple as that. But again, I'm moving away from the point of this lens. So this isn't image stabilized, which is such a shame because the 18 to 55 is, and it's a small lens. Yes, it starts at f4. Oh, sorry, no, it doesn't. It starts at 2.8 and goes up to f4. I've had that lens. It was a great lens, and I really regret selling it actually because you can use that kit lens. Sorry, it's not even a kit lens, but they call it a kit lens. You can use that lens as a professional lens. You know, you can do jobs with that. Absolutely no problem whatsoever. But this one, beautiful lens, fast focusing. It is fast focusing, this one. For a zoom lens, it's pretty fast actually. And the detail you get from it, the colours, everything about this lens is beautiful. If it was image stabilized, I would have paid an extra £300-400. I don't care. I actually would have done that because this is a fantastic lens, and that is the 16 to 55 2.8. So this is, I think this is one of my newest lenses. This is the 50-140. I can't tell you too much about this lens. I've only mucked about with it at home, in a home environment, and I've taken a few shots, you know, being out and about, up London, Big Ben, that sort of thing, just to try it out. My initial impressions of it are, it's not as good as a Canon 70-200. I'm sorry, Fuji, it's not. And I might be jumping the gun when I say that, but my initial thoughts on it are, I'm getting, I should have known this, and you know, but I'm getting depth of field of f4. That for me, for any type of portraiture, is not cutting it. That's why I want to buy the Sigma 85 f1.4. Great image stabilization on it. I've shot a 1/10 of a second on that. Sorry, 1/15th. I could be lying. 1/15th, and it was in focus and sharp. I zoomed in 200%, and it was tack sharp. The VR on it is fantastic. I'm not feeling the background blur from it. I'm really not. And the focusing on it, I thought this was meant to have like the latest generation of motors in it. It's quiet. It's fast-ish. It is fast-ish. But it doesn't now focus all the time. When I first bought it, I actually thought, is it 40? Have I just spent, you know, I picked this up incidentally for £1,070 on the grey market from a website called Panamore's. Cheap. There's a few websites I use. Panamore's, Global Digital, they're the two main ones, and Infinity Camera. They're cheap. You know, they're so much cheaper. Fantastic customer service. And I have bought a lot of my stuff for the past few years using them for Canon gear as well, actually. But when I bought this, I was actually really disappointed. I thought, am I going to send it back? But if I send it back, I don't have something to fill that 70-200 gap. So what am I going to do? Am I going to just stick with it? And I have. And, you know, I have no choice because there isn't another zoom in the Fuji lineup that can take its place. And I can't, you know, in an event, stick a manual 70-200 Canon and use that. I just can't do it. I have to have that. So for the moment, I'm using that. I've actually got a couple of weddings and a couple of christenings coming up within the next sort of month, 6 weeks. I have to use that, so I'll give you more initial thoughts on that when I do a chat about each individual lens. First initial thoughts, a little bit disappointed. At the moment, I'm rating that like a 7, maybe even a 6 out of 10. But like I say, I could be jumping a gun. If you guys have it and you've used it and you think it's good, leave me a comment, because I'd love to read them, because at this moment in time, I'm feeling like I've ripped myself off. So I'm hoping I'm totally wrong. That's it. I think I've kind of told you a little bit about each lens. Like I say, this isn't a review to review every single lens. This is just what I want to tell you that I use. I use this professionally. I use this personally. This kit in general. I don't take every single lens when I shoot an event. I think, well, actually, I do take, that's a complete, I'm lying again. I take every single lens that I shoot except for the Jupiter. I have no need for that because it's a 50mm. I've got a 56, I've got a 23, and I've got the 35, which is a 50mm. Actually, that 50mm gives me a 75. So it's a bit of a weird, focal length. I actually bought it just because I really wanted to, this was my first manual lens, and I bought it because I just wanted to give it, you know, a try. This is a 1962 version. It's the KMZ Jupiter 8, this one. Really, really nice lens. It gives you a really nice look, you know. It is a little bit soft, but, you know, it gives you a nice look, so what? Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I've been rambling on. I know I've been blasting some Fuji lenses, but I'm hoping I'm wrong. If you guys like this video, please subscribe, because I'm going to be doing some more videos just individually talking about each lens, and I'll show you images of each individual lens, both professionally and personal shots. And I would love to take you on that journey with some of these lenses. So thank you, and I'll see you soon. See you later.